don't know how we can reverse this mess, but let me tell you something. Land grabbing is well alive in 2024. Guess who just bought 20% of Zimbabwe's land, 10% of Liberia, 10% of Zambia, and 8% of Tanzania? And by the way, collectively, that's like the size of the UK, or at least half of France. Meet Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum, who is a young member of the Dubai royal family, who probably doesn't know the language being spoken in those countries, runs an organization called Blue Carbon that's out here snatching lands in Africa for however long they need it in order for UAE to fulfill its Paris Agreement.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren
and I'm Maureen.
Yeah, so in today's episode, guys, we want to bring to your attention, and we feel like this is a conversation that more people need to be talking about and more people need to know about. This episode is a land grabbing alert that is happening in Africa.
Yeah, right now it's not just the Chinese who are buying land in Africa, it's not just the UAE who are buying land in Africa. Right now, even Americans and the people from Europe, they want a piece of Africa. Why? Right now there's a shortage of food in America, in France, like basically all over the world, and they want to, right now they're exporting food. Do you guys know they're exporting food from Africa? They're exporting
the lands that they're grabbing in Africa is so that they can farm to secure that security for their people, which is not wrong. We are in the era of survival, guys.
Yeah, they're exporting right now food from Africa. They're exporting water, guys, if believe it or not, fresh water from Africa, and they're also exporting seeds and indigenous seeds from Africa.
But we don't want to talk a lot, guys. Let's just watch this video and then we come back and talk about it. Please leave your comments on the comment section on what you think about this episode, and for those who have not subscribed, kindly consider doing so. Let's watch, then we come back and talk about it.
So there's a war on African farmers, a war on African food security and sovereignty that is happening right now across the continent so that multinational companies can grab the resources underneath this land. Farmers who formerly outrightly owned their land now must be subject to mountains of bureaucracy. The state leasing out this land. Seeds are now being patented by companies like Cargill, by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Poisonous fertilizer is being sold to farmers, and so it is a big mess. Grabbing up land in the name of carbon credits. This is happening throughout the continent. Now the AU, we have to wonder, where is this entity? What is it doing? Because he who feeds you controls you. Africa is home to 60% of arable land, 60% of farmland, the rivers and lakes in this place. There is no way, there is no reason why there should be any type of famine on this continent.
I know you're probably thinking, what do UAE fulfilling its Paris Agreement have to do with us? I'll tell you how you got dragged into it. Now, according to the Paris Agreement in 2015, countries are responsible to bring down their carbon emission because it's causing an overall rise in global temperature, which is very fascinating because according to this 2022 chart, you can kind of see Africa producing the least amount of carbon emission, which kind of makes sense since Africa is like a poor continent. We're not producing anything. And you can see Asia, where UAE lies, is on the rise. So why did we roll up to the Paris Agreement? Because we're not doing the most. Now let's go back to why Africa's involved. Now, first of all, let me get this clear. UAE is going to do nothing to change its production model to lower emission, all right? Because clearly that's going to affect their profit margin. And look at UAE right now, how beautiful it is, and their economy is booming. You guys go there for vacation. Yeah, they're not going to tamper with that. So that's when we have carbon offsetting, what they call carbon trading, which basically states that countries that have high carbon emission, by the way, guys, this whole climate change talk, but this is the kind of games they want to play. Anyways, countries that have high carbon emission could go ahead and fund projects or protected forest because, you know, it absorbs greenhouse gases, and somehow that's going to count as carbon credit contribution for their Paris Agreement. Even though they didn't change anything, they're still emitting the same amount, or if not more. So how does that work? Now we're probably going to hear from some fellow Africans telling us that's a business deal right there. Tell me, when on God's green earth have you ever seen a rich African buying lands 10% in Arabia? Do you think they're going to allow that? No. And I'm telling you this one, UAE probably can deal with this carbon emissions by itself, but no, because deep down inside, you're going to have things like this be done in the dark, right? UAE has set its sight on Africa's critical minerals. So do you think it was always about climate change? Yes, and I'm fully aware that the other picture is another royal family. At the end of the day, guys, they all work with each other, so calm down. Now, this article I thought was very fascinating, and it tells you about previously deals that have fell through, like they always do, because you can clearly see how our continent looked like. It states that the money does not usually go directly to the community which is involved in the preservation of the forest. Usually the government just takes the money and they do what they think the community needs. And I'm gonna leave you guys with this important point over here. This has been the case for multiple other deals which the government makes behind closed doors, and it's never actually put up for deliberation or any forms of democracy process, like the case of many other countries.
Ado, what if I told you there's a new scramble for Africa happening right now? I watched this documentary called The Grab. My goodness. It's a brutal world. Now, let me tell you what. Countries like China, the UAE, are running out of water. Like, for real, running out of water. And make sure that their citizenry can farm like they need to farm. They can eat like they need to eat. Thing is, we all know, when there is no food in a country, things go to the dogs. And all these countries are trying to avoid that. But the way they are going about doing it, side-eye, major side-eye. These countries and more have looked to Africa to come and solve their food crisis and their water crisis. All right? And how are they doing that? From crazy things like shipping water. Imagine that. Countries going into a place so that they can pump out the water and ship it away. Or coming and using non-sustainable ways of farming and then shipping whatever it is that they farm to their countries, with absolutely no regard for the host country's ecological problems or needs afterwards. They don't care. These corporations, these countries, they have identified countries like Zambia, where they know that their land laws are not like. So what they do is they get there, because most of the people in the rural areas especially, they live in ancestral land. But in the way they live in that ancestral land is such that they know that their great-grandfather, their great-great-great-grandfather, they lived there. They found themselves there. They have built, their own houses there. They live in that land. They live on that land. But it's not like they have any title deeds or any ownership documents to these lands. So what they're doing is buying that land right from under them, moving them away, or rather chasing them away from their own land, and then setting up these large-scale farms, which are not going to benefit that area, but everything is going to be shipped off away. America has not been spared either. All right? They're fighting the UAE a lot because they came there and planted hay, and they keep shipping it away. The thing is, they pump the underground water, a lot of it, and they do not cap the amount of water that they can pump, because of maybe the laws in their area do not have a cap of how much water you can pump out. So everything that they're doing is legal. Everything they're doing it within the prescribes of the law, but unfairly. You see? So they come and plant the hay. They use the water from underground to irrigate. The water diminishes, and other farmers that are in areas that are around the farm no longer can pump from their own pumps because there's no more water in the aquifer. These corporations, these countries are using mercenaries. I usually say that word wrong, but they're using those people, and you know how nasty they can be, to give them security, because they know that they may experience some resistance. In fact, the people who are doing this documentary went back to Zambia to, follow a trail of, whatever investigation, and they were frozen from getting into the country. That's how powerful these people can be. But nobody knows whether it is their documents that were not okay, as it was claimed, or there was some influence. Nobody knows, But it is quite suspicious that even that their names were on a notice board in a place that they had been detained. They were being waited for. So we are talking about very, very powerful people. And now it brings my thoughts to the things that have been happening lately, where laws are being changed here and there. And more so, this thing of where freehold land was being proposed to be changed to be leasehold. Were we setting the stage for this kind of a takeover? It is scary to think about. Because you're here thinking as an individual, you're thinking, we'll have a foreigner come, buy land, next to us. but you're not thinking about people actually buying larger scale farms and actually even changing the way a place looks completely because they want to do whatever it is that they want to do firm. Watching the Zambians lose their land and a lawyer come and help them fight, get it back, and knowing that these are the minority who, and many people do not necessarily get their lands back. People do not even have the strength to fight. They do not even know where to go fight. It is scary. It is very, very scary. So people, when you hear something is being proposed, published in Parliament, zoom out. Look to see if whatever it is that they are talking about is something that makes it easier for something that is happening in lands abroad or even your neighborhood to happen here. And with that, I'll tell you, go to parliament.go.ke and look at the legislative proposal tracker. Look at all the things that have been published, where they are, what they are, and then we can figure out if something is going for public participation. It is important for us to participate. This thing of saying that they'll not listen to us, that doesn't matter. We need to publicly participate when we are called for public participation, because we cannot say that we are also blameless. We don't publicly participate because of the apathy that we have in the processes. But we need to do that, because you may refuse to do that and something is passed that affects you directly. And you know, the crazy thing is this, all what these countries are doing, it's actually nothing personal. All they are doing is making sure that their citizenry is right. That's all they're doing. They're making sure that their citizenry is fed. Their citizenry has got water to do whatever it is that they've got to do. So it should also not be anything personal when we say no. But how do you say no when you're so heavily compromised with loans and stuff like that? And finally, this has taken too long. As we zoom out, as I said, we need to zoom out and see what it is that is happening in other countries when laws change in our own country to see how compromised we are. We also need to make it possible, like America is doing, that we consider water and food security for our country as a primary national security issue. This way, if something comes to compromise either of the two, alarm bells will ring all over and we'll be able to know, if we touch that law, that compromises us and stuff like that. And we're also able to project in the future, because these resources are not getting more, they are dwindling. We need some for ourselves as well, and we need to prioritize us.
So guys, welcome back. You know, Maren, the irony of this whole situation is when Americans, to be specifically Black Americans, have been told that it is very dangerous to come to Africa and that they've been given travel advisories against coming to any of the African countries. When Black people in Europe, when Europeans, especially Black people in Europe, have been told time and again, do not by any reason go to Africa. People around the world, they've been told don't go to Africa. Yet, it is the palm-colored people, not only in America, the Chinese and the big corporations, they are really coming to Africa and buying up big parts of Africa, not only for them to get and export minerals from Africa, but right now they're also exporting food and water from Africa, and they're even hiring mercenaries to protect their areas. Why do they need to know this? You know, they know a piece of information that most people right now either know or are too clueless to care about. And guys, for the longest time, they've been saying that Africa is poor. These very same corporations that are buying up big parts of Africa, they've been saying that Africa does not have enough food to feed itself. They've been saying that Africa does not have enough water to, that Africa is a dirty continent. There's the propaganda they sold about Africa. There's that image they painted of Africa that made even the other Black people who are not in the continent to feel like I'd rather go vacation somewhere else but Africa. Yet while doing this, they were blinding these people, and them themselves, they came to invest and buy in Africa, not for the good of Africans. Heck, to some point, not even for the good of their people, but for the good of them. So that when it comes down, you guys, do you know, we are headed right now, how they're predicting about the world's resources. We are heading to a place where
there won't be enough for everybody.
Yes, the amount of resources versus the people who are in the continent, it's estimated that we are going to be struggling for food, all of us.
Question
and you can see
is, what is Africa and its leadership doing to
about
also make
it?
sure they're securing resources for their own people, food and water
that
security?
Africa is well taken care of should this time come up.
They're busy.
They're just busy
selling you people.
Yes, they're just busy selling up the good parts
People
of Africa.
owning you. You are in this land, but you don't own it. Other people who don't even look like you will be the ones who are owning this, you know. And there's a sister who brought up a valid question. She was asking, can a rich African or black man be allowed to buy these huge parcels of land in UAE? Could they allow that to happen?
And not only in UAE, let me add another one. A rich person from Africa, can they be allowed to buy up the best places in America? I bet you the government will come up with all sorts of bureaucracy, not only bureaucracy but laws, to make sure they find something illegal in how these people have bought land in America. And if they don't find, they'll make sure to plant, you know. So you won't see any sorry person of, well, you guys, you won't see any black person being allowed to prosper like that, you know. Yet, they are coming to Africa to buy the good parts of Africa, and they're being enabled by our very corrupt leaders.
Yeah, much as I'm really happy, Maureen, because right now the continent is being seen in a different light. Much as it is what it is, there's also a side that is coming out, you know, due to technology and internet. There's
internet
a side,
most especially.
Yeah, so I'm really happy that black people from across the world, Jamaicans, black Americans, black people from Europe, they're coming. They're those who've come and made a life for themselves in Africa.
They've even
made sure they've bought something for themselves in Africa, and they've made sure they have something of their own should there come a time where, you know, life, the movement shift has changed and it's in Africa. They have something they can fall back on, you understand? So it's not just, but if you look at the percentage of those who have done that, and
it's
the percentage
very
of
small compared to the palm-colored
people.
But you guys, I'm not lying to you. Recently, just after the protests cooled down, there was a video that was going viral here in Kenya where you know, when you're in an airport, when you travel into Kenya, the passport control area where you're waiting to be stamped and allowed into the country, that area, a lot of palm-colored people were there, not
waiting
even
for their
Kenyans
passports to
themselves,
be stamped
so that they can
get
come
into the
Kenya.
country.
And a lot of Kenyans were very happy, saying that, you see, Kenya is a very peaceful place,
international place.
We welcome everybody, you know. And guys, I just sat like this and asked myself, where are the black Americans? Where are the black Brits? Like, we only have white foreigners, and you know they're coming to Kenya for a reason,
and
it's not just
right
by
now,
coincidence.
They're not just coming to visit and, you know, experience the safaris. Nowadays nobody cares about the safaris.
That. Well, not as much as
it used to be in the past. Right now it's a common thing, so people know about it, so it's not like a big deal. So why are they still coming into the country? Because for them
and
it's
most
easy to invest in Africa. And I've realized, I don't know if it's the system or what, when black people want to invest in Africa, they find a lot of hurdles that makes, you know, those ones who are not financially well off, it can discourage you from investing back in the country, but if you look at the percentage of white people who are even buying homes in Africa, the number is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and right now, you guys, I don't know if the war will ever happen or how soon it will happen, but what I've realized, I was just asking myself, because now you see, long time ago, you used to find very old palm-colored people, wazungus, with very young, beautiful African girls. But right now, it's not only the old Muzungus, even very, very young Muzungus are coming to marry into Kenya. Until I asked myself one thing, what if these Muzungus are escaping the war that's about to come? And
the easiest way for you to get a citizenship in Africa, just marry an African woman.
Yeah, so most of them right now are coming to marry African girls.
And these African girls are so clueless.
They're like, oh my God, a young Muzungu loves me.
There was a story. I wish I downloaded that video, Maureen. There was this story on TikTok where this Nigerian girl got a text from a white Muzungu. Let me say Muzungu is a palm-colored person.
Muzungu is a palm-colored person, you guys.
So she got an Instagram message from a Muzungu, and he was young and handsome.
Very handsome.
I also was like, back in the day when I went,
like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, that must be a fraud, you know. So this girl got a text message from a Muzungu on her Instagram account. She ignored it. Why?
She thought it was a scammer because he was too handsome and
to pay
young for her
any attention, you know, because Africans expect to be married to an old Muzungu, so she ignored it. But this person kept on messaging her until she could not ignore it, and she was like, let me see. She texted him immediately and said, if you're trying to defraud me, I already know that
I don't have
anything. Money. So this guy was truly legitimately existing
white
person, you know,
who
and he said, no, I'm really interested in marrying you, okay? So he was like, okay, I'm going to process your visa. If you accept, we are going to try for you to come to, he was from Germany. For you to come to Germany, we meet and then we get married. And she was like, she went along with it, and she was like, okay, they tried applying for that and she was denied visa. Since she was denied, he said, since I'm a German citizen, it's
will
easy
be easier
for me to Africa and marry you. If you're okay with that, I can start with the process and then I'll be in Africa. She agreed. That guy, within a week, he was in Nigeria, and he was getting married to this black Nigerian girl.
So right now, guys, what we're trying to say in short, right now in Africa, a lot of Muzungus are really trying to secure dual citizenship, especially most of the ones we've seen is through marriages. A lot of them are really marrying into Africa. And you know, right now, when war comes, first of all, okay, even women go to war, but they usually start with the men, and then the women are drafted. A lot of Muzungu men are coming to marry in Africa. Until I'm asking myself, okay, if this is the strategy they've decided to go by,
and
where are the black men?
Africans are going abroad. So who will be sent?
Muzungus are coming here. And I'm asking myself, during this big migration that we have started to see, where are the black men? Where are the black women? You know? Where are the black men? Where are the black women?
Muzungus are really getting
they're coming in Africa. And you know, when they're coming, as they get citizenship in Africa, they're also along with it buying huge parcels of land
through their wife's name. And you know what will happen if you get a Muzungu who does not marries you and doesn't love you? Finding a way to unalive you in this corrupt continent is very easy. They might unalive you. They'll remain with the parcels of land they purchased under your name. With time, it becomes theirs because it was owned by both of you.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, as we end this episode, we just like to advise you, stay woke and always question everything that happens around you. Nothing is by coincidence.
When you're going to Bali for vacation, you're going to Italy for vacation. In Africa, remember, Wazungus are coming in Africa, but not enough black Americans. They're grabbing.
Yeah, they're coming to Africa and they're coming to stay. They don't intend on going back. So African Americans, black Americans, and blacks all over, be vigilant and watch out.
Right. We leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching our channel. Of course, let's catch you on the next episode, and we appreciate your time. Consider subscribing for those who have not. Let's catch you on our next.